In the film Spirited Away, Hayao Miyazaki incorporates the spiritual world to critique consumerism and greed. In this film, we witness the transformation of Chihiro's parents from human beings to pigs after they consume food intended for spirits. Through this plot twist, we are able to see that the greed of the parents causes loss of control and a sense of self. The entire setting of the bathhouse also teaches us a valuable lesson about how money, work, and power can influence the way people behave. However, while most characters are affected by the greed, Chihiro remains focused on kindness, responsibility,
In the
and
beginning
true
of the movie,
relationships.
Chihiro and her parents discover an empty restaurant with a variety of different foods displayed on the table. Rather than waiting for the owners to come and serve them, Chihiro's parents choose to prioritize their own personal desires for consumption over being respectful to the owners of the restaurant, showing one of the first signs of greed. As her parents begin taking food, Chihiro urges them to stop, worrying that they will face consequences for their actions. However, her parents imply that their money will prevent them from any consequences that they may have. As Chihiro walks away, her parents start to overindulge in the food displayed. They quickly become so blindsided with their desire to eat that they're unaware of the excessive amounts of food that they have consumed. When Chihiro returns, she finds her parents completely transformed into pigs, symbolizing how uncontrolled consumption and greed can lead to a loss of humanity. This scene shows us how quickly human greed can escalate to extreme levels, as in just a few minutes her parents went from taking a plate of food to eating almost everything in sight. It illustrates how even small acts of greed can transform a person's core nature into one that prioritizes consumerism, which
Many
exists
themes
in the
related to
depths.
Marxism and structuralism are explored in Spirited Away, which we see through the concept of alienation utilized in order to separate the worker from their identity, and in this case, make being a worker their entire identity. In fact, Yubaba's transformation into a hawk whilst monitoring the entire operation is very telling of maintaining power through surveillance and ownership, which from a Foucaultist perspective, the structures of power are maintained, therefore, through surveillance, as people begin to regulate themselves more when they know that they're being watched. The character comparison between Bo, the baby, and Chihiro also showcases class differences in which there is an active class reproduction that continues through the reproduction of workers and elites, through Bo benefiting from the labor of workers whilst not being involved in it at all, and also with labor workers such as Chihiro having to work to be provided a living. Class consciousness is also seen through Chihiro continuing to challenge status quo, form non-transactional human relationships with other laborers, and continue to remember her name in order to
No
resist
Face's gold scene in Spirited Away shows how consumerism and greed can corrupt people. At first, the bathhouse workers did not care about No Face, but once he creates gold, they suddenly treat him like a VIP. The scene criticizes consumerism by showing a world where everything becomes transactional. The bathhouse workers do not value No Face because of who he is, they value him because he gives the workers gold. Their respect, kindness, and service are not real. They are purchased by wealth because they think they'll become rich from serving No Face. No Face also becomes more and more corrupt. At first, he seems lonely and gentle, but after learning that gold can buy attention, food, and respect, he becomes more monstrous. He tries to solve everything with money, as he thinks that this is the key to earning all of this. Later, the gold turns into sand, showing that his value was fake from the beginning. And overall, No Face's gold shows how consumerism can corrupt both individuals and the society. The bathhouse workers lose their conscience in front of money, while No Face becomes more monstrous after learning that wealth can buy attention. However, he was unable to buy Chihiro's attention, and also the gold eventually disappears, proving that consumerism
Chihiro
is empty and
represents the
false.
opposite of greed because she helps others without expecting rewards. Throughout the movie, she helps the river spirit, risks her safety to save Haku, and guides No Face away from the bathhouse when he loses control. Unlike many characters who act for personal gain, Chihiro is motivated by compassion and responsibility. These actions show that she values loyalty and kindness over wealth or rewards. A key example of Chihiro rejecting greed is when No Face offers her gold. While the bathhouse workers become obsessed with the gold and treat No Face as a rich customer, Chihiro immediately refuses it. She sees No Face as a lonely and troubled individual rather than a source of wealth. This moment shows that Chihiro is not controlled by money or any materialistic rewards. Instead, she values human connection and remains focused on helping others and saving her parents who have become pigs.
In conclusion, Spirited Away proves that greed and consumerism lead people to loss of identity and morals. The parents of Chihiro turn into pigs because they eat disrespectfully, while the workers of the bathhouse pursue No Face because they think that money will bring them success. Nevertheless, they will soon find out that money means nothing because they have lost all of its value. We find that Chihiro, who is compassionate, helpful, and kind, is determined to save her parents rather than falling into the same pattern of greed. Thank you.